I've just made a life-changing decision, i.e. leaving my girlfriend. After many attempts and problems with attachment, how can I best protect myself and honor myself to hold myself to this decision and not go back to her out of addiction? Speaking of which, I attended an addicts meeting this week, first time because of this attachment. Thank you. Well, firstly, Mark, it's about you realizing you're definitely not an addict. That way you can affirm the identity in which you want to be right now. At the same time, Mark, why do most of us end up always going back? It's because deep down, we're walking around like a half circle, desperately wanting others to make us feel complete. It's portrayed in Hollywood, and Hollywood and just media in general is one of the strongest forms of conditioning because we are conditioned by stories, right? So think about the Cinderella story. You realize even any romantic movie nowadays, it kind of sounds like Cinderella, told a little bit differently. What does a Cinderella story normally sound like? There's a single man, single woman. And because they're singles, they're so sad, right? So depressed every day. One day they meet their Prince Charming. And guess what? Happily ever after. You know, in a movie, right? When it's brightly lit and it's like colorful. It's like that, happily ever after. So most romantic movies, think about this. That's what they're portraying. Half circle. Meet somebody else, get complete, absolutely amazing for the rest of your life. True, true. But life isn't really like that, right? What we got to aim to be is to be this whole circle. We got to begin to cover up and begin to heal our insecurities right now. Without you healing your wounds, you'll always be a magnet to toxic people. And the reason why is, and you firstly know this to be true, because how many of you ever met somebody before, they escape one toxic relationship to only find themselves in the next one, right? And they tell you, oh no, this person's different. Fast forward a year later, it's the same deal. I mean, know what I'm talking about? It's because they haven't healed their insecurity. They're magnetic to toxic people. So why are some people who require healing so magnetic? Because to toxic people is because toxic people, think about this, they know your insecurities better than you. Yes. And by them triggering your insecurities, they are able to benefit from it. Hurt people tend to hurt people, and they take pleasure from putting you down. If they didn't, think about this. If they really didn't feel terrible about life, they wouldn't take pleasure from calling you terrible all the time. They'll be calling you wonderful instead. Yes. So realize when you're dealing with a toxic person, you're dealing with somebody who's hurt inside, missing something inside. Therefore, they are going to be targeting your biggest weaknesses. And you realize it to be true because, have you ever noticed, difficult people tend to trigger you the best. If there was a Guinness World Record for this, they would take everything. Yes or no? They trigger all the buttons, press all of them, and then some. Yes or no? So, when you're being triggered by a difficult person, next time, yes? When you decide to hold on because maybe they reached out to you saying, hey, do you want to meet? Even though you said you're going to let go. You've got to question, what is my perceived weakness right now? What do I need to heal? Without you realizing that, you will always find yourself triggered in a negative way. Because remind yourself, nobody has ever been offended by a statement that doesn't apply to them. If somebody comes up to you and says, hey, you've got green hair, and let's say you don't have green hair, would you be offended? Would you be triggered? Most of you are probably like, no. Why wouldn't you be triggered if somebody said you got green hair? Because you're probably thinking, I don't have green hair. Yes or no? But let's say somebody comes up to you and says, you are a horrible human being. Wouldn't you agree some people listening to this might be triggered? Yes or no? Analyze that. Take a step back. Why was you not triggered when somebody said, you've got green hair? It's because you're saying, I don't have green hair. Why are you triggered when somebody says you're horrible? Think about this. It's because deep down, you had a wound, an insecurity that existed long before that other person opened their mouth. Nobody has ever been offended by a statement that doesn't apply to them. True or true? So what's happening is when you are feeling like somebody's offending you, you are actually offending yourself. It's not what others say to you that offends you, that triggers you. It's what you're telling yourself. Once they stopped talking, that's offending you. So next time you're finding yourself being triggered, being hurt, being offended, ask yourself, what are you telling yourself? That's a limiting belief, by the way. That's a narrative. Without you becoming aware of that limiting belief, you cannot heal. You cannot let go. You cannot release. Are you guys getting this? That's your best form of protection. That's how you can really walk out of this relationship and make this courageous decision.